Etude number 33 is a lot slower than the other examples, and at first glance doesn't look as technically challenging as the other two Etudes, which are much faster, but it presents its own set of challenges. One it can be the key signature if you're not familiar with A flat major key signature or A flat major key signature. So the best thing to do is really get to know that key signature. Play your major scales, play your scales in thirds, play your arpeggios on different tones. So here's your A flat major scale. And for saxophones, if we're playing an A flat major scale, we can't do 2 octaves unless we go into the altissimo. But you can just go up and down the full range of the horn. So here's that same scale, just going up the full range of the horn, all the way up to the highest note in the scale on this horn, which will be high F, and then the lowest note, which will be low B flat. Now it does go up to a high E flat. It doesn't go up as high as F. It does go up to a high E flat, and it doesn't go very low. It doesn't go into the low spatula keys, so you don't really have to worry about that. I think the lowest note it goes down to is a D natural, and it's only there briefly, but it does go down to a low E flat and hold a low E flat. So you could just practice down to an E flat as well if you're struggling with the spatula keys. But I would definitely get used to that key signature and the arpeggio. Okay, so start with your scale and your arpeggios, and that'll be a good way to wrap your head around this key center. That way, some of the accidentals won't catch you off guard. The most challenging thing about this piece is the duration, is the endurance that it takes to play from the top to the bottom. It is a really long piece at this tempo. And it's really challenging not only on the lips, but on your mind, just keeping your mind sharp through the entire piece. I know that even myself, I tend to, once I get to a certain point, my mind starts to drift a little bit. So just really, when you're playing this, one thing I like to try to do is if I start to hear thoughts going on inside my head while I'm playing, like, you know, thinking too hard about what I'm doing, I try to just like recognize that they're there and then just kind of gently push them off to the side and focus on what I'm playing at hand. So the more you can just kind of like notice that those thoughts are coming in and push them away, that'll kind of keep you able to maintain your focus all the way through. So that's a little tip on focus. On your lip endurance, you're going to have to build up to playing this piece all the way through, okay? And that's not going to come overnight, okay? So don't put it off until the last couple days before the recording. Practice performing this piece regularly, okay? Even if you're not ready for it and you're making a lot of mistakes, practice playing from the very first note to the very last note without stopping at all. If you make a ton of mistakes, don't worry about it. What you're doing is you're training yourself to be able to play from the beginning to the end, okay? And as you go along and you learn this and get it more under your fingers, you'll be making more music and hitting better pitches, but you'll also have worked on that endurance. So the endurance won't be something that's brand new that you're also throwing in there. So work on your endurance early, okay? Really work on practicing this from top to bottom, even if you're making a bunch of mistakes, because it's going to start training your lip to be in shape to handle a piece like this. Another thing you can do is make sure you're planning your breaths. where you need to take a breath and where I need to take a breath and where your friend might need to take a breath will be 3 different scenarios. Okay, so most of the breath marks are written in. Really try to adhere to those as much as possible. If you need extra breaths, plan where that's going to be, and then mark it and do it consistently. So you're not putting random breaths. The more you put random breaths, the more you're training to not know when to breathe. Okay, and the more it's going to break up your phrasing. If you need a breath, maybe you need a breath right now, but 4 weeks from now you won't need a breath. Okay, but right now let's make our phrasing consistent. Okay, so one issue that I personally run into is the 4th line, the very last bar, getting through this phrase. Sometimes I take a breath here. And sometimes I take a breath there. Okay, so depending on what you need your breath for, just do it consistently. I would tend to, at first I was thinking after that high A flat, but I think this is a better place. Right there. So right there is a really good place to take a breath if you need an extra one in that phrase, okay? But plan them ahead so that you're planning good phrasing. Another aspect that we run into in this piece are the ornamentations. There's a couple tricky spots, and the first one is measure 3 on beat 3 and 4. Okay, that's what that one's supposed to sound like. You play the C and then the C is going to come on the regular beat and the E flat is going to come on the regular beat. So if the regular beat is divided here into 8 notes, all right, you want those to land on the beat. The second line, the trill and the grace note, okay, that's what that's supposed to sound like. The ad libitum on 1, 2, 3, 4. With the ad libitums, I like to figure out where the beats are and try to play them as written before I just start to take liberties with them. Okay? So if I was going to play this very metronomic, it would sound like this. With an F on that second to last note. Okay? So play it very metronomic so you know where those notes should fall. Okay? But then you can stretch it out a little bit. Knowing that that's a heavy note. Knowing that that's a heavy note. That's a heavy note. Another one. And then this grace note. Okay. The next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th line. Right, pick up into that note. And then the last measure of the 5th line. Remember that trills always go from the written note to the next note on the staff in the key. Unless there's an accidental, then you add in the accidental. So if I'm looking at an E flat, the next note on the staff in the key is F. same line at the beginning of the line, that first measure, the A flat trill. This is a good one to look at. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line, the and of 3. We have A flat going to a B flat. There's two ways you can do this. One is going from A flat to a B flat bis, which is B with this key right here. And you keep this down and you wave these 3 fingers. Okay? Another way is to play A flat and trill the B flat. Okay? Thinking about which one is in tune. The right one's a little out of tune, but I think you're moving it quick enough that it doesn't affect it. I kind of like the right-handed one, personally. The measure after that one's a really challenging turn. It'll sound like this. Okay, moves by pretty quick, but try to get those the third and fourth beat in that 16th note figure in the right time. Okay. So looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th line, the second measure, the trill there, again, is the note that's written, trilling to the next note on the staff in the key. Okay, so you're on a G, you're trilling from a G to an A, but it's going to be an A flat, because A flat is in the key of A flat, obviously. That's going to be something you have to work on. I had to work on that one because my picky did not want to trill fast enough. And then another A flat to B flat. You can use this right-handed one, or you can use the left-handed one. Okay. And then the second to the last line, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth measure. Okay, same as what's written in the first line. And then these last ones. Right? E flat. The E flat one, you can keep your E flat pinky down and then just trill the middle finger and ring finger. I'm trying to get all these. Okay, that might sound a little cleaner. And then the other one that you really have to look at is the D flat trill. The D flat trill, if you played it so it's D flat trilling to the next note in the staff in the key. So the note above D flat is E flat, right? So you have to go from D flat, which is no fingers down, to E flat, which is almost all your fingers down. If you try to play it normally, it would sound like this. It would sound really bad, okay? So the best way to do it is just this high E side key, okay, that you use for your high E, right? Trill that one. Okay? And then the last one. Okay? And that one you can just use your side key B flat. I think using this on that one isn't quite as clean. Okay? I think that's all of the trills and grace notes in that. There's a lot of them. Don't put trills and grace notes off until the last minute. Practice it without them, right? Because you don't want it muddying up your learning process, right? Play the simpler, basic, core, fundamental, rhythmic ideas first. But don't forget to practice these trills, right? So that when you are able to incorporate them into your musical phrase, you've developed them, okay? So make sure I wouldn't put them into your musical phrase quite yet, but I would definitely put them into your practice sessions so that you're developing a comfort with them. So that's a lot of the challenges in this piece are those grace notes and ornamentations. The other thing that I think really sells this piece, because it's a long piece, is really developing your concept of where you want the music to go. Okay? Think about telling a story. And then you can even like write in, if you have a storyline in your head, even if it's like a real, like a story, write in your music where your story is taking shape. So you have something to tell while you're playing this. It's not just about playing the notes. Anybody can play the notes, right? You want to tell a story with your music, and you want to convey musicality with your music and musicianship. So take these notes on the page and give them a shape, and give them a meaning, and give them motion, okay? And you can do that a lot through dynamics, okay? So really look at to which dynamic markings there are, and really note those as your goalposts. So what I like to do is just go through each dynamic marking I see and play it as I see it. So the first measure, a piano C. The next time I see a written dynamic, it's in the second line, a forte G. Okay, that's what that's going to sound like. The next one is a piano D flat. And then a forte D flat in the next line, the third line. And then a piano C. So I've kind of like sent benchmarks as to where each of those notes are going to be and where each of those notes feel with my air pressure. Okay? So I've kind of set those benchmarks so I know what that's going to feel like when I arrive at that point. So if I arrive at that first forte G and it sounds like this, that's not quite hitting that benchmark. It should sound like, right? It should sound a lot more full and complete. So the more you can incorporate these dynamics early into your practice session, the better. So probably the two biggest things that I would say is incorporate dynamics early and practice performance early. The earlier you can practice your performance of this piece, the more comfortable it's going to be once you get to the point where you're going to actually perform this piece. And the more you can incorporate dynamics into your daily practice sessions, the more they're going to feel like a natural extension of your musicality once you actually go to record these. Okay? So those are a few tips on this piece. It's a challenging piece, but very approachable piece if you put in the time and you put in the effort. Don't overlook the musicality, especially a slow piece like this. And good luck in your studies. This is a great piece to get around the saxophone on.